If you guys don't know who I am, my name is Noah, and I am in my third year here at York, but completing my final year of university at York, at the university, yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about. What do we say? The University of York? No, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. York University. The York U. Anyways, about me, I'm from the States, so I moved here like 3 years ago. Most of my friends thought I was crazy, and then Trump got elected, and they're like, oh, okay, I get it. But I've been here for 3 years now, and I've really come to love York, and it's been incredible. Just the community that I've been able to immerse myself in, and then now I'm leading the group here at York called Students with a Testimony, and I am like the president or whatever you want to call it, which it's really fun because I feel like, I was coming out from my first year, and then now to just be a part of like the behind the scenes stuff has been really cool. Anyways, I was just trying to for you to get to know me a little bit. If you don't, I'm going to share a quick story from my childhood, which I feel like will lighten the mood a bit before I get into the really heavy stuff. So growing up in Virginia, I grew up, and the houses are a bit different than here, and the trees and the grass, we have a lot more of it, and it's really cool. So my backyard was pretty big, so we had like a basketball court in my backyard, and it was awesome. Sean's telling me to talk louder. So anyways, so I grew up in Virginia, and I loved basketball. I was like a huge basketball fan, and I would play all the time. There was one problem though. I was the shortest kid in my class. From until like 10th grade, I was like not just like the shortest guy, but like the shortest kid. Like, so all the girls were taller than me. They would bully me and make fun of me. Like, I was just a really small kid, but I loved basketball. So you can see how like that might not add up so well. But I would really try. I would give my best, and I would go into the lane. I'd get fouled. I would cry all the time. I'd always be on the ground. Everyone knew me as a kid that cried. I remember going to my high school with some of the kids that I didn't really know, but they're like, "Oh yeah, you're the crying kid. Like that's you. Like you're the small little." And I was like, "Yeah." So, anyways, 10th grade. You can see me now. I'm a bit bigger than I used to be. After 10th grade, yeah, I started to grow up a bit. But I remember, so my dream was like to go to the NBA, and I like believed it. I believed it. And I was a very hyper kid and just like all out there, but I would like tell people I'm going to the NBA. Anyways, I had this knee problem, and so I had to go to the doctor, and I went to the doctor, and he was like, he told me I had this thing called Osgood-Schlatter, which is like when you're growing, something like, I don't know, it hurt. But he said, what he said was, "Oh, but it's okay though, because it's not like you're going to be playing in the NBA or anything." And I was like, "But I am. I'm going to." I was like, "Mom?" Like, because my mom, I'm like 8 years old. My mom's in the room, like, "Mom, is that true?" Like, I was just shook, and I just remember like my heart dropping and being like, "Yo, like, is that real?" Because this guy was like an athletic doctor. You know, doctors are smart. They go to school for a lot of years. Like, this guy knows what he's talking about. Like, who am I? Like, I guess I'm not going to the NBA. Long story short, I'm not in the NBA yet, but guys, I'm on my way. I'm on my way. Now, I had an amazing 3-year high school career, played varsity, sat on the bench for most of the time, but trust me, I was up there with the best of them. And this kind of like, why I'm sharing this is because that was a point in my life where like I was really like torn down, and you can imagine like being a small kid, like I was pretty insecure, like people would always make fun of my height. I forgot to mention my brother is huge, huge, and when we were kids his nickname was Bigfoot because he was huge and he had huge feet, and like he was just like this like big guy, and I was like tiny little Noah. So but it was just like my insecurities and everything like that, and I was just shattered. I remember being torn down and just like, what the heck. But my mom and all my friends still loved me regardless of that. So anyways, that's just to get to know me a little bit better and to lighten the mood, get you guys engaged. Hopefully you can follow along with my lesson tonight. And the title of my lesson is Welcoming Others into Your Life. And I was given this title, so I had to work with it. For me, when I speak, I really like to be engaged, or like at least like I really want to have a heart behind what I'm saying. So when I'm given a title, it's kind of like, oh, like I guess I have to like figure out a way to get to that. And I don't know. So the way I'm going to share today is kind of just like my thought process through the past week or so as I've been trying to prep for this. And it might not at first relate to welcoming others into your life. It's going to be sharing just a bit more personally about what's been going on in my life. But I think that as I've been talking to Thor and just kind of working through it, I think it really relates to welcoming others into our lives. So just on a serious note about sharing in my life, it's been a hard couple months for me, and I'll share more in depth throughout the time that I talk. But I was really not even like 10 minutes before this, like just not wanting to talk, and I'm up here now, and I want to speak. I want to be at a place where I can speak. But if I'm being real with you, like that's not how I've been feeling, and I haven't really felt like there's a lot of doubts and a lot of just faith issues that I've been having in the past couple months due to a lot of things that, again, I'll share. But let's get into the text, and then I'll share more about my life. So in Romans 12, if you guys can all turn there, I was thinking, like, should I do points, or like, should I ask questions, or how are we going to do this for people taking notes? But I think you'll follow along, and I'm going to break it down for you. So we're going to read the scripture in Romans 12, verse 9. It says, "Love must be sincere. Hate what is evil. Cling to what is good. Be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another above yourselves. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Share with the Lord's people who are in need. Practice hospitality." And then if you skip all the way down to the end of this, in verse 21, it says, "Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good." And just to share, like, verse 12 says to be patient in affliction. And this is something I've been really wrestling with, because this has been one of like the hardest years for me. I've been pretty torn down, a bit more than when I was 8 years old. I think maybe it's just like as I get older, life gets harder, or maybe it's just a tough year, or I'm having my ups and downs. I don't know what it is, but I really don't want to be patient right now. Like, I don't feel like being patient. I want it to be over. I just want to, like, I'm in my 4th year. Like, I want to be done, and I want to be moving on. Like, this is the dream, right? I'm graduating. What's next? But I really feel like God is forcing me to be in right now. And that's been pretty hard. And like I said, even trying to share today, I was just skeptical, because I can come up here and share it to you guys, but just to be real, like, I don't even think I have answers. Like, there's days where I just feel like I'm just questioning why I exist, questioning why I follow Jesus, why I do what I do. And to come up here and to try and give you an answer, I think is really hard, because I don't have one myself. But I think that the Bible speaks truth, and I think that that we can find truth in His Word, and there's something that I want to break down in that. But yeah, so these past couple of months, I've been struggling with like mental health stuff, and I haven't really talked much about it because I don't really want to acknowledge it. I don't really want people. For me, I don't even want to acknowledge it for myself, that I would like be at a place where like I can't like function how I normally thought I would. And to me, like, I want my life to be perfect. I want to be happy. I want to be filled with joy. And I'm just like, why can't I choose that? Like, I can wake up in the morning and choose that, right? Like, I've heard someone say that before. Like, just choose to be happy. You can choose joy. And I've tried, and then I go through the day, and I'm like, I still feel the same way. I still feel like, and even throughout the day, I can be choosing to do the right thing and to be nice to people, to be kind, to make kind gestures, to be giving. And still, for some reason, I come back and I feel empty, and I feel like there's something missing. A couple months ago, my girlfriend broke up with me, and that was really tough, because I'm a pretty like idealistic person. So like in an ideal world, you don't get broken up with, and that was like, oh wow, like that's not what I expected. This is kind of a change in what my dream was for what I thought was going to happen. And just in this past, like, so many things I can share about. My grandpa passed away. My mom and my sister suffer with like really tough illnesses, where my sister like hasn't left the bed in a couple months, and I'm not there to be with her. Like, there's nothing that I can do. And like on top of that, I'm graduating. Like, woohoo! Like, right? Like, I'm trying to figure out what I'm supposed to be doing with my life, and I don't even feel like I know who I am. And that can be really hard. And I don't know if you guys can relate. Like, I'm on the TTC a lot, and I'm just like sitting there, like deep in thought. Just like, you know what I'm talking, I don't even have headphones in. I'm just like there. And people probably think like I'm angry or something. I'm not. I'm just like contemplating like, what is life? Like, what is happening? Like, I'm in university. I just don't know what's happening, and it's crazy. And then I also busted my knee, and I'm just like, God, like, what is happening? And this isn't like a pity party for myself. I don't want you to be like, wow, Noah, like, you really have gone through a lot. I just want, this is real life. Like, this is what I'm facing. This is what I'm going through. And we're all going through something. I don't know what that is for you. We all face hardships. And I don't know what you're going through right now, whether you've lost a loved one, whether you have sickness in your family. Maybe it's just like you don't feel like you have friends. Like you're around people all the time, but you never really are connecting. It's like, do people really care what's going on in my life? Maybe it's letdowns in school, like you're just like not getting the grades that you thought you would, or you're just anxious about the future. Maybe it's stuff with a girlfriend or boyfriend. You're like, is this right? Should I be in this? You're fighting, whatever. Issues with your parents, siblings, financial trouble. Like the list, it goes on. Like we face hardships, right? That we can agree with that. Question is, and you can write this down, how do we act in those moments? Do we let people in? Are we patient when we're faced with affliction? And why might we not want to let people in or be patient? Because for me, my tendency is just to do it on my own. You know, I want to isolate myself from people. When I start getting in a bad place, like, and I'm in my thoughts, I don't want people to tell me what's right or wrong. I just want to think. Like, I just want to be by myself, and I don't want them to know my thoughts because, like, I want people to think I have it together, and I'm not sure what people will say if I tell them that I'm lonely, or if I tell them that I'm unhappy or sad or weak. Because if you guys know me, like, I'm a pretty sarcastic, like, easygoing person, and I joke about things, but like when I'm really feeling something and I just want someone to comfort me, like that's hard to do, like, especially as a guy, like, to be like, hey, I just want to, like, I want to hug, you know, like, that's weird to say, but sometimes I feel like that, like, I just feel a lot, and I don't know what to do, and I just want it to be over. I just want to be out of that. I don't want people to know that I'm going through something, or I don't want to be patient. I just want it to be done. Cool, we move on, dust it under, let me go on with life. But that's not real life. Like, real life, you face stuff, like, stuff happens. And yeah, I asked the question, how can I tell people what's really going on inside of me? And even if they accept it, like, won't they view me differently because now they know? And, you know, the fact that I have, you know, thoughts some days that, like, why do I even exist? Do I even want to exist right now? Not that it's suicidal, but it can be those thoughts of, like, what is the point to, like, living? Like, if these answers aren't making sense, if God isn't making sense, or, you know, my friend group or whatever. And it's weird because when you're around people, like, you're not really thinking about that, and everything could seem okay. But then you come back to yourself and you're, like, thinking these deep thoughts, like, why am I existing? Because it doesn't add up. So I'm proposing all these things. I think we're feeling it, right? Like, we can maybe relate to some of the things. And for me, like, as a leader, I think it's hard to share that because I want to help people, and I'm in my 4th year, and people look up to me as a leader. And just to go on, like, I think sometimes I want to minimize what's happening in my life. Like, I don't want it to be a big deal. I'll tell someone what's happening. Like, yeah, this is what's happening, but, like, I feel like people, they don't understand, or, like, I don't really want them to think that it's that big. Like, with a breakup, it's like, oh, it's just a breakup. Like, that happens all the time, right? Like, people go through stuff. But then that was a breakup, like, for me, that I have to deal with, and that I, like, put my heart out there, and now I'm trying to figure out, like, my life. But like, when you look at it from, like, a person-to-person perspective, it's like, oh, people go through breakups, but people, like, that person is going through something right there. So to be joyful in hope and patient in affliction, faithful in prayer, how do we act in a moment like that? To be patient in affliction, and that seems like the last thing that I want to do. When I'm going through trials, through suffering, I just want to get out of it quick. And what does it mean to be patient here? And to be joyful in hope, I feel like hope is something that you're anticipating, like, it hasn't come yet. So how could you be joyful if you're still like waiting for that thing to come? Like, I'll be joyful once it comes, right? Or, like, once it's all over. But it says to be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, in the times where we're suffering, when it's tough, to be patient. And like, in those times, we don't really want it to fully affect us. We don't want to take the full feel of what's happening. And we're not patient because we want it to be over. And it's vulnerable. And when we're vulnerable and when we really accept it, that's usually when we're able to deal with it. And that's usually when we're able to let people into our lives. It's when we're really able to experience if you take the time to say, you know what am I feeling right now? And let me just be real about it. Let me not try and act cool because I want to keep a friend, but, like, when you're actually able to accept it and let people into your life, I think that's a huge step. And going through suffering or affliction, it actually opens us up to be molded and to be vulnerable. And when I say that, I mean to grow in our character. Like for me, this time is a moment where it's kind of like I have a choice. I can go back to the old person that I've always been and kind of my same tendencies, or through this time, I can make a step to grow in my character, to grow in something that's really hard for me, which I just tend to want to run away and tend to want to isolate myself. And I have good friends, but they don't need to know what's really going on. But this is a step for me to say, you know what? I'm going to be real, and I'm going to tell people what's really going on. And that's perseverance. And I love the scripture in Romans 5, verse 3. It says, not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope. And so how do we act in a time like that? Well, we need to be patient. We need to be patient because we have the opportunity to let people into our life. We have the opportunity to grow in relationships in a way that we never have before, to grow in our character, to grow in our perseverance. And trust me, it seems like the last thing you want to do. But that's kind of the point. And for me, it's been a test of my faith. And I thought I had faith in some areas, and some of it was just idealism. Like I thought that, okay, well, like I come to church and things are good. I have faith, right? Like, no, but when I'm tested, am I going to choose to spend time with God? Am I going to choose to open up my Bible and read? When I feel like that's the last thing that I want to do and I'm faced with a decision and I know I have the opportunity to choose something, what am I going to do? Or am I going to talk to someone and let them know what's happening? Or am I going to go to my room? And I have roommates in here, some of them, and there's a point where it was a really rough day. And this was like last week. It's not like it was a couple months ago. Like this was last week. And it was a really rough day, and I had some really negative thoughts. And like to the point where I was like, I'm going to buy a one-way ticket, and I'm just going to leave. And I actually thought about it. And so I went up into my room. I was like, okay, I was trying to fight in prayer. I was trying to be like, let me be logical right now because I'm super emotional. I know that this is probably not going to be a good decision. So I texted Thor. And I was like, dude, there's just so much. I don't even know. I just didn't even know what to say. I was like texting him like, I just feel a lot. And I was like, and in my head, I walked past Xander. He was downstairs. I walked past him, went to my room, and I was just like, I need to go pray with Xander. And me and Xander, we talk about spiritual stuff and we get deep sometimes. But I was like, I need to go show him what's really going on. And I went downstairs and he was watching some show, and I was like, we need to pray. And he was like, all right. And I lit a candle, and we turned off the lights, and I was like, we're going to get on our knees and we're going to pray. We're going to be real about this. And he was like, okay. And so I just started praying, and it was honestly I didn't even feel like Xander was there, but he was there with me. It was just a time to be real, and I just needed someone there with me. And I feel like that was a huge step in my relationship with Xander. And I don't want to expose him, but we were crying. We had some tears. There were some tears shed, and I've never, if you know Xander, that's not typically what you see in Xander, or for myself, maybe he's you always cry. So, but I think it was a really cool moment. If I wouldn't have opened myself up in a time where I was I want to do the opposite of that. Satan's attacked me. I have all these negative thoughts. I'm I just want to go do something right now in the moment, and I don't know what that is for you, but for me, I want to go out and drink or go out and party, just have fun. Why is all this negative thoughts on me? I know there's a quick way to fix it, but I was is that really going to make me feel better? In the end, I'm just going to wake up the next day and have the same problems. What can I do right now? And that was last week, and I'll tell you, it was great and it was awesome, but I'm still feeling the same stuff, and that's okay. But that was a huge step for me. I need to take those moments, that small progress, and be patient in affliction. You guys with me? Yeah. Cool. So my second question is, what's the importance of letting people in? So again, preparing for this lesson, I was kind of the devil's advocate with Thor. I was like, so you're I know what I'm supposed to say, but I don't believe it. I'm just gonna be. I don't really I'm gonna tell people, yeah, you should have people in your life, but I don't believe it. Why do I need people in my life? So we had a conversation, and he asked me, if when you went through your breakup, he said, if no one was there to talk to, what would have happened? And I was like, oh, I don't know, like, would have been really sad. Maybe I would have done something that I would have regretted, or like, I don't know, just kind of gone out and sinned or whatever, like maybe texted her, tried to fix things or whatever. And he was like, okay, yeah, and I was like, I don't know. And if no one talked to me, I guess I would get really sad and then probably just like be in a really bad place. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, I don't know. I would just start, I could see how if I didn't have anyone to talk to, I would just start drifting more and more to a place where I don't even want to be, like, and he was like, and then I clicked, I was like, oh, okay. Like, I think I get, like, I need people, because without people, like, I can't be who God has designed me to be. I can't be the best that I can be without people. I'll just go to my normal tendencies. I won't be able to grow it, and I won't be able to persevere. Like, if no one's cheering you on, like, it's kind of hard to persevere. Like, I don't really want to already, so, like, I can't really, like, promote myself to do it. So I need those people in my life to be able to do that. And it just started to click, like, perseverance and growth. Like, okay, so that's only possible when I let people in. In Galatians 6, you can write this down. It says, carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. Without inviting people into my life, I'll go astray. I'll become, I don't even know. Like, I won't become who I want to be. I need people. I need relationships. And this isn't just true in, like, Christianity. Like, this is the truth. Relationships are, like, so needed. Like, there's, like, scientific studies, like, that show, like, people that don't have relationships, like, suffer with so many different things. You can talk to Melina. She's, like, studying to be a clinical psychologist. Like, she knows, like, the depths of what it means when you're lacking relationships, when you're lacking people in your life, especially when you're going through hard things. Relationships are key. And I need people in my life. We all need people in our lives. And I'm grateful for guys like Sean and Thor and my brother, my roommates, my parents, people that, like, are there for me. And they're not just, like, good friends, but they, like, say the hard things. But they say it in a way that, like, they love me and they're just there. They accept me for where I'm at. And it's not like they're forcing me, but they're like, hey, but you know that there's hope, right? And I'm like, nah, there's not. But they're like, you know that there's hope, right? Like, because I can't see it in that moment. And I need someone that has better vision to be able to be like, okay, like, I know that you're here. I'm with you right here, but I just want you to know I'm a bit taller and I can see over this wall. And I've been there and I've gone through that. And that's so important. Jess is going to share a little bit now.
Come on, Jess. Let's go.
Yeah.
Hey everyone. So I was asked to share some thoughts with you guys on welcoming others into your life. I found it so interesting that I got asked to share about this topic because letting people in my life is something very difficult for me to do. When I think of letting people in, the first thing that comes to mind is fear. Last week I was talking with a friend and she mentioned how she has noticed when it comes to my friendships and relationships, I'm willing to bend over backwards, compromise my feelings, not speak up if I'm hurt, and avoid confrontations at all costs. She asked me why do I do that, and I replied with saying, I'm fearful. At any time, they can decide to leave my life. If they really get to know me, what if they don't like who I really am? When I get in a disagreement with a friend, I can start panicking and think, is this the moment they're going to leave me? I'm just waiting at any second for them to say, I'm done. I don't want to be your friend anymore. She then asked me, where does this fear come from? In the moment, I couldn't give her an answer, but as I was thinking more about it, it goes back to my dad and when he decided to leave my family. Is anyone else different from him? Though when I was reflecting and writing this up, I realized how I have these expectations that no human can meet, only God can meet. The truth is, yes, people can leave us, but no matter what, we have something that is always constant, and that is God. The way He feels about us and the way He views us is never going to change. He is never going to leave us. He's always going to be here. In Deuteronomy 31 verse 8, it says, "The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged."
It's on the back, yeah.
Thank you, guys. If this is true, we don't need to be afraid or fearful of getting hurt, of being disappointed, of being betrayed, or even others leaving us. We have a God that understands and knows exactly how we feel. Jesus was more brokenhearted, scared, betrayed than anyone in history. Yet he did not shut himself off from us. Instead, he calls us onto him. If you can't trust anyone right now, please know that you can trust him. Trust that he will guide you through this pain, even if you feel like you don't have no energy to love or forgive others. God will give you the strength. When you put your full trust in God, we are able to see the importance of letting people in our lives. We see the bigger picture. Letting people in our lives is how we're going to grow and become the men and women God intended us to be. In Ephesians 4:16, it says, "He makes the whole body fit together perfectly. As each part does its own special work, it helps the other parts grow." To become the men and women God intended us to be, that requires having people in our life to tell us areas in our character we need to grow in, and help us grow in those areas. What is someone's weakness is someone else's strength, and vice versa. I honestly do not think I would be the person I am today if it weren't for the people God has placed in my life. As well, we're able to get a different perspective from others. They help us see things more clearly. As individuals, we can sometimes be very narrow-minded and only see from one side. They help us see when we're not looking at the positives. They help us see that we are strong enough to get through the hardships we're facing right now. They help us see that what we're going through right now is only temporary and will pass. They help us see the tremendous potential that God has given us, especially when we don't see it. And they help us see how God really views us. I want you guys to listen to this very carefully. This is how God views us. You are the salt of the earth. And it says in Matthew, you are the salt of the earth. And go check it out. He also says you are a victor. In Romans 8, verse 37, it says, "No, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loves us." You have a heavenly calling. In Hebrews 3, verse 1, it says, "Therefore, holy brothers and sisters who share in the heavenly calling, fix your thoughts on Jesus, whom we acknowledge as our apostle and high priest. You are royalty, and you lead with integrity." In 1 Peter 2, verse 9, it says, "But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light." You are designed for good works. In Ephesians 2, verse 10, it says, "For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." You are co-heirs with Christ. Now, if we are children, then we are heirs of God, and co-heirs with Christ. if indeed we share in his suffering, in order that we may also share in his glory. Do you guys see how God views you? But we're not going to always be able to see this because we can get lost in our emotions, but we can forget that Satan is really trying to put us down. God sees us as important, special, loved, and valued. Not only is letting people into our lives going to help us grow in our trust and faith, but it also will really help us to really get to know God. In 1 John 4, verse 7 to 8, it says, "Dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. Whoever does not know God, does not love, does not know God, because God is love." Also in Genesis 1, verse 27, it says, "So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female." Think about the amount of times you have hurt or let down a friend or messed up, and they continue to forgive you and be patient with you and still love you. How much more do you think God has forgiven you and is willing to forgive you? How much more do you guys think God is going to be patient with you? How much more do you think God loves you? Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jess. Just love how she kind of ties in God's love into all of that, and that, you know, God sees us when we are suffering, when we're going through these hard times, and he puts the right people into our lives to help us through that and to work through that and to be able to persevere. And I'm just going to close out here with a couple things to remember from what I said. And I think the big thing that I want that you all to take from this is that we all face hard times. We all go through things. It might not be right now, but a time will come where you're going to face something. And the question is, how are we going to react? How are we going to react to those situations? Because these tough times are what shape our character. They're what shape who we become. Are we going to decide to invite people into our lives? Are we going to decide to be patient when things are feeling like they're on all sides attacking us? Are we going to be able to slow down and see what God is teaching us? Allow yourself to be vulnerable. We need to invite people into our lives. It's huge. And not just anyone, because there's a scripture that talks about bad company corrupts good character, but you want to invite people with character, people that have gone through the fire, that have gone before you. You want to invite those type of people into your lives so that they can help you become who you really can be. And it's in there in each and every one of us. God has given us talents and gifts. He looks at you as a special, like he is your special creation. But in order for us to achieve that, we need to follow what he's called us to do, which is to be real, to be vulnerable, not to hide the hurts, because the hurts are what make us. The suffering and the weakness is what makes us. That's part of who I am. You might see me up here speaking and think that, oh, I know it's great, whatever. You see me play basketball, yeah, I'm cashing out now. What's up? I'm not 5'2" anymore. But really, like, what makes me is those times when I'm on the subway and I'm thinking about, what am I doing with my life? That's who I really am, and that's who God loves. God loves the worst part of me, and he loves the best part of me. And that's the same. You want people that are going to help you in those hard times. We need to invite other people into our lives. I just want to share a quote from Nelson Mandela. It says, "Our human compassion binds us to one another, not in pity, but as human beings who have learned how to turn our common suffering into hope for the future." And I think that's what we can do. We can turn our common suffering, we're all going through something, we can turn that into hope. And we have Jesus. We have the hope of God. In Romans 12:21, I'll close out with this, and I read this before. It says, "Let us not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good." And that good is God. He's the thing that's going to overcome every evil thought, every evil thing in our life. We need that hope. We need that hope in God. And I hope that you can welcome other people into your life. Thank you.